Hi there, this is Jen, and thanks so much for stopping by today. Today I am creating a design team project for Visible Image using one of their new release stamp sets, and the release is available for pre-orders from Visible Image, which is located in the UK, so available starting today. And the stamp set that I'm going to be using today is Ride the Waves, but over the next few weeks, actually I think the next month and a half or so, I will be sharing my projects using the fabulous new release. But this one is called Ride the Waves. It's a really awesome summer set, and so I'm going to make a summer scene. So I'm going to start out by making a sunset, and so I've taken a piece of, I believe this is Inkadinkado masking paper, and I have cut that down to 4¼ by 5½, and I'm going to mask off a circle that's going to be the sun. And so here I have the stamp laid down, and I'm just trying to figure out where I want the to cut the mask. And so I'll go ahead and add a little bit of tape and then pick that mask up and run that through my die cutting machine. And then I'm going to use the circle piece later, but for now I'm going to use the negative space. And so I'm going to remove the backing adhesive from the mask and line that up with my 4¼ by 5½ piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock. And I use Bristol Smooth in so much stuff, mainly because I never know if how much water I'm going to use, and it takes water excellent, and so that's usually my choice for paper, and that is what I am using again on this. It also makes ink blending really well. You can use it with alcohol markers as well. It's just a really versatile paper. And so I only wanted half of the sun peeking up over the waves, and so I'm going to take a piece of masking tape and add that so that half of the sun is showing. So I'm only going to be coloring this little portion right here that you can see, that kind of half circle. And I'm going to start out using some mustard seed, and then I will use Spice Marmalade, and these are the Distress inks. And once I have the color how I want it, I'll go ahead and remove the masking paper. And then I'm going to grab the stamp and center that underneath the sun. Now the stamp does not quite fit a 4¼ by 5½ panel, but the great thing about the stamp is that I could move it to either side and basically fill in the empty area. I don't end up doing that for this card. I end up actually trimming it so it is a little bit smaller, but it is really easy to repeat that stamp and make the waves. And I went ahead and I chose to use a blue. It looks really almost like a black on when it is stamped up, but this is a Versafine Clair ink called Twilight. And I'll go ahead and stamp that a few times. And then I'm going to take the little surfboard guy from the stamp set and place him kind of in the sun so it looks like he is on the horizon. And I'm going to take some Versafine black and ink that up. And then I stamp that a few times actually to get a nice crisp black image. And since the Versafine inks are pigment inks, they stay wet for quite a while, and so I wanted to make sure those are completely dry, so I did take my heat tool to help that along. And then I'm going to take the circle portion of the mask and cover up the sun. And I wanted to leave a little sliver at the top showing, and so I didn't cover the sun completely. I just left a little sliver at the top. And then I'm going to go ahead and start ink blending my sunset. And so I'm going to start out with some mustard seeds. I'm going to take my ink blending tool and start closest to the water line with that mustard seed, and then I will move on to the spiced marmalade. And then next, the picked raspberry, one of my favorite colors, and then the Villainous Potion. And if you wanted a darker blend than what you get with the blending brushes, you can always use a dauber, which is what I end up doing when I do the ocean water or the waves. And then the last color is Black Soot. And I'm going to move in and start working on the water. And so I'm going to use some chipped Sapphire as well as some Mermaid Lagoon. I kind of messed up a little bit because I should have left more space in the middle to have the sun shining on the water. But what I ended up doing was covering it, and so it looks a little bit of a greenish tint instead of the yellow from the sun. And then I'm going to outline the sun to give it a little bit more definition with a white watercolor pencil. And I'm prepping my background using an anti-static bag because I will be using, there is a stamp in the set that adds almost like foam, like, you know, when there's waves that you get like that foam. And so I am using that little stamp, and I'm going to add some Versamark ink to it. And that product that I'm using to try and make the foam, it's called Snowstorm. It's by Creative Expressions. And what it does is when you heat it, it expands. But it didn't work that great on this because the stamp that I'm using is so small and the particles in the powder are so big. So I tried it the first time and not many of the particles stuck. And so then I went back over and I tried it again, and a few more did stick. So it does kind of give that effect of foam. You can also use white embossing powder for this, which will work just fine. And I actually should have started heating it from behind so those little pieces didn't blow off. But as you can see, it does give the effect of a little bit of foam in that water. And then there are a few little birds in the stamp set, and I'm going to ink those up with some Versafine black. And then I'm going to trim off the excess on either side so that you see the waves and not that white space on the sides. And I messed up on this because I was going to mat this, or I tried to mat this, and then the mat, I did not get it straight and it was very noticeable. And so I ended up trimming that off and decided to create a sand border on the side. And so I'm taking a little bit of tea-dye distress ink along with some scattered twigs. And so I'm just going to blend that on the side, and then I'm going to take a stencil brush, and this works great for adding little spots so it looks like little bits of sand. And so to create that effect, I am just inking the stencil brush and then pouncing it over the card panel to give the little dots or specks of sand. And then I added some gold metallic watercolor splatter to add the little kind of sparkles that you see in the sand at the beach. And then there is a sentiment in the stamp set that says ride the waves, and there are also these footprints. So I'm going to add the footprints to the bottom using the scattered twigs distress ink, and then I'm going to stamp up ride the waves in some Versafine black. And then to add some height to the panel, I went ahead and added a little bit of foam behind the waves panel, and I will adhere that to my 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card panel. And that's going to finish off my card for today. As I mentioned at the beginning, the pre-sales are right now, and then they ship out in a couple of weeks. But as a reminder, if you order from the Visible Image website and you are in the United States, I'm not sure what shipping looks like for that. But these should be available within the next couple of weeks from your favorite Visible Image retailer. So look out for that. I am so glad that you could join me today. If you liked this video or found it informative, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Thanks so much for stopping by, and I hope to see you next time.